welcome back to another thought-provoking Thursday here at Your Spiritual Injection. And let's just go ahead and get right into it. I'm ready to learn some of these 10 mandatory habits that will help me be successful in my personal finances. I don't know about you all, but I'm ready to hear these top tips from our guests, our special guest tonight. So let's go ahead and bring up our host.
Before we do that, let me give
You
the
wanna
quick
go?
bio. Let me give the quick
Okay,
bio,
go.
sister. Let's do that. So, after over 35 years helping individuals and organizations to develop, our brother Asari St. Hill wishes to help thousands more, both in the UK and across the world. Through his company, Just Leverage, I can leverage my corporate, public sector contacts and experience in local government and housing associations, plus 11 years inspecting public sector organizations like councils, NHS, and fire authorities to achieve greater business outcomes through the prism of diversity. Since leaving the commission, I've spent the last 11 years as an independent diversity advisor for the Irish and National Centre of Diversity, NCFD, and for a wide range of public sector organizations, voluntary organizations, and large private sector corporations. I'm also in my 12th year of a business coaching franchise with Action Coach. So for the executive, okay, so I'll post these in the chat. It says for executive coaching and more information, please go to the following link. We'll post it in the chat shortly. So as you can see, very well versed in corporate, all different types of sectors, and now he's here for you this evening on the Spiritual Injection. So now, Sister Terry, you may bring on our host.
Thank you for that. So our special guest, of course, you just heard, he has a wide range of experience. I'm excited to hear those tips. I have my notebook and pen ready. I hope that you all do. You know, this full year, we've been talking about everything that can help you to really live your best life. So let's bring up our host, Abdul Hakim Muhammad, and he will bring us further into our program for this evening. Welcome, brother.
And warm welcome to you and to all who have gathered this evening to be a part of this dynamic discussion on how we can settle ourselves during this time of tremendous upheaval in regards to interest rates just really evolving out of control, and those who don't have set fixed mortgages are now having to scramble. So how do we structure ourselves during this time of tremendous upheaval? So today, you know, we have our great brother who's going to help us with our mindset, help us with our approach, because you all know, right, regardless to where you are and what your current position is, everybody must strive to take advantage and take responsibility of our personal finances. Sometimes men defer it to their woman defers it to the man, and you know, employee defers it to the employed, and the employed defers to the employer. You know, let's see what we can do and what tricks we've been missing in regards to taking responsibility for what flows into our coffers and what flows out of our coffers, and how we can change our behavioral patterns to try to be a bit more successful, if not a lot more successful than we have been to date. So without any furthering, I hate using the word ado because it usually means just making noise, and we're not here to make no noise, you know, apart from a pleasant sound. But so without furthering, I'd like to bring our special guest up, and a friend of this platform, and one who has helped us to establish it. So please take your devices off of mute and receive back to the Spiritual Injection, Asari St. Hill. Warm welcome, Asari.
Greetings, one and all.
Greetings.
It's wonderful to be
Wonderful
to be back again.
Thank you. Wonderful to have you back.
Always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. And I'll put some slides up in a bit. I've been given a title, 10 Mandatory Habits that we must master to succeed in with our but with that special look at finances. But actually, it's life.
Right.
It's life. There's a guy called, people might have heard of Zig Ziglar,
Right.
where he had a counter narrative. People say money is the source of all evil, and they taught all these kind of stuff, especially if you go to your Bible school and blah, blah, blah. Zig Ziglar said, money's not everything, but it's up there with air or oxygen, right? So, all right, might not be everything, but it's very important. And if you live in a country like this, where you can't really do much, maybe just have a walk around the park. But even if you walk around the park or walk around the block, you might want an ice cream or bottle of water or whatever it is. You still need money, right?
Right.
So to function in society without money is very, very difficult. It doesn't mean you worship it. It's a tool, but it can be an asset as well. And it just makes life so much easier. You know, I have the view that people who say money doesn't make you happy, they're usually broke.
Or shopping in the wrong places. So.
They're usually broke. Money don't make you happy. No, money doesn't guarantee happiness. But then marriage doesn't guarantee happiness. Lots of things don't guarantee happiness. It's not about guarantees. It's about how to make your life better than it was before, right? So and I remember people circulating a Steve Jobs quote. And this was very popular, particularly during lockdown, because people were worried about death. And they circulated this quote where Steve Jobs allegedly, I don't know if he did, but allegedly said that he would give up all his money for his health.
Sure.
And I say to people, this is a false scenario because it doesn't exist, only in La La Land. You don't go to a hospital on your deathbed and the doctor says, well, if you give up all your money, you'll live. That scenario doesn't exist. What does exist, though, is if you were in Steve Jobs' position where you knew you were dying of cancer, what would you do? You would enjoy your last years. You would make sure your family's secure. You would sort out all your trusts and pension and wills and everything you would organize, right? Because you got money to do it. Now, if he was broke, he would have the same cancer problems, but now he could leave his family with no income, no security. They could potentially be evicted from their home, lose their house, whether you're renting or bought it. Because remember, when you say you own your own home, if you haven't finished paying the mortgage, you haven't quite owned it yet. Because guess what? If you stop paying the mortgage, they throw you out. There was a white guy on the radio a few weeks ago complaining about the interest rates. And this white guy said, I've lived in my house for 23 years.
Right.
Now, most mortgages are 25 years, right?
Right.
So he's lived in his house for 23 years. And because now he can't afford to pay the mortgage, they're throwing him out.
Right.
They're not saying, well, we'll do this deal and that deal. And, you know, you've paid for 25 years. You've been a loyal customer. You're excellent, blah, blah, blah. They are throwing him out of his house, even though he's had 23 years paying the mortgage there. And everything was fine. And suddenly he just can't pay anymore. So that's the point I'm making, that even when you have a mortgage, it's not really yours until you've made that last payment. Because if you default, they can decide to take your home from you. And if you're not in a position to rebuy or to negotiate that properly, then you've lost everything, even though you've put in all those years. Obviously, you'll get a little bit of money, maybe, but then what do you do with it? So it's just worth thinking. So let me put up some slides and I'm going to go through these. I have been fortunate in life to be able to travel to many places in the world. Everywhere I've been in the world, I think people are basically the same. Context, yes. History different, yes. Food different, look different. But basically, everywhere I've been in the world, Asia, Africa, the Americas, the Caribbean, Europe, every family, every person I meet basically wants their children to be better off than they were. They want a secure place to live. They want hope and aspiration. They want a decent job or a decent income from a business. And that's basically what most people want. Some people might want a yacht and another person wants a little dinghy. So the scale is different, but basically everybody wants the same thing, right? The ability to feed their family, have a decent life, blah, blah, blah. So these are some of the things we could use in our lives that would just make it a lot better and actually much, much more fun and prosperous. So let's start with the first one. Let's go straight away. The first thing is, when I'd have clients, one of the biggest problems is not actually that people dream too big, it's that they dream too small. Has anybody heard Les Brown talk about this?
Yeah.
Les Brown says, one of the greatest public speakers, right? African-American Les Brown. He says, most people hit their goals, but the problem is they're so low that they're not happy. You know, if your goal is to have 2 children, have somewhere to live and have a job, it's not that difficult to achieve.
Right.
You know, most people will have a job.
True.
Maybe you can have as many children as you want. Whether you can afford them is a different story, and you'll have somewhere to live. Most people are not literally living on the street. So that ambition is actually very achievable. So one of the things I say is go big. So this is just a dream chart. This is an example of a dream chart. I have one right here above my head, my dream chart. This is my dream chart for 2023. So on my dream chart, at the top has Rwanda. I needed to go back there to do certain things, to register a business, look at property and do a number of things. So we're going next Friday. Next week, Friday, we're going back for 9 days. My sons, who are older now, so it's the first adult trip they're going to make to somewhere like Africa, and my father-in-law. So we're all going. Airbnb, Rwanda-owned place, flying on Rwandan Air. So it's all about giving to the local community, right? So we're doing that one. What else was on it? So we had a cruise because we got married during lockdown. I got remarried during lockdown. So we haven't had a honeymoon. So we're going on a bit of a dream cruise later this year. That's all booked for November. So we got that one. I had to change my car because this wicked man called the Mayor of London decided to bring in ULEZ. So the car I've been driving.
The Ferrari, Asari.
So the car I was driving, I didn't want to drive. I still want to keep. I had an X3, a BMW X3 that I liked a lot, perfectly well, good car, nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't ULEZ proof. So I had to change the car. So on my dream chart, I had a Jaguar E-Pace. I now have a Jaguar E-Pace. What else was on the dream chart? Going training and, you know, some smaller stuff, keep training, stay fit.
Nice.
There's a few other bits and pieces on there I haven't quite achieved yet, but they're small things. We can get them done. All right. But the point I'm making, I'm not doing this to boast or to show off at all. I'm trying to show you that if you start the year by planning where you want to go, you're more likely to achieve it, and be clear about what is it you want or need. It might be a need, not just a want. I changed my car, not because I wanted to, but I needed to. Otherwise, it's $12.50 a day, and it just seems pointless, right? It's just silly, or get fined, right? So dream big, you know, go big. What house do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a 2-bedroom flat? If you're happy with that, fine. But do you really want a 4-bedroom house? Or do you really want to live with a bit of countryside? Or do you want a driveway? Do you want what car are you driving? Is it breaking down all the time? Is it a decent car, a good car? It doesn't have to be new. Or do you really want a new car? Or you want a better car? Or your family's not served adequately by the vehicle you're driving? It's for you to decide. But it's not just material things. Don't think I'm just hung up on material things. What do you want to do spiritually? Do you want to serve God? Do you want to serve your community? Do you want to dedicate a certain amount of your life to helping other people? But you can't now because you're in a job that you're working too many hours, you're too tired, or you haven't got enough spare change to help anybody else. So all of these things are part of what you want to dream. Is there places you want to go? Is there people you want to meet? Is there a skill you'd love to start? You know, would you like to play a guitar? I don't know, whatever. I don't know, learn another language. But you just don't have the time or the money to do it right now. So put all of that down there. Do you want to get married? You're not married. Do you want to meet the dream partner? Put it all on there. You know, I speak to people in business coaching and they say, why are we talking about that? I said, well, is it part of your dream or not? Yeah, I want to get married. Right. So why haven't you got a plan? It's madness to say you want something, but you have no strategy or plan to achieve it. It doesn't matter if it sounds silly. It's not anybody else's point. And here's another tip. If you show your dream chart to somebody and they laugh, they may be somebody you don't want in your life too much. Yeah, if they laugh at your plan, you're probably spending time with the wrong type of people. Yeah, if they say, well done, Asari, go for it. Those are the kind of people you want to be around. Or I've got a dream chart as well. That's the type of person you want to be around. People who laugh, you probably need to be divorcing them. And if they're in your family and you can't divorce them, then maybe reduce the amount of time you spend with them, because guess what? They're poisoning you. Every time they meet you, they're killing your dreams by telling you, be realistic, Asari. You got to be realistic. This, you know, I can't really see this happening, or whatever cold water they're pouring on it. So dream big is the first one. Let's keep going. Here's an interesting one, right? I'm going to show you this. This is a grid with 100 squares. This is your life. Let's assume you could live till you're 100. Most people in this country, on average, will live till they're about 80. So 20 of them squares, you might as well just forget about, unless you're lucky. But let's say 80 squares then, 8 by 10, right? So we do 8 by 10 squares. Now, here's the fun. Block out all the ones where you already lived. So for me, I got to block out 57 squares. They've gone. Those squares have gone already, right? So 57 squares, goodbye. Now, what about if you did other things? I won't go through all the detail, but let's say you sleep 7 hours a day. So if you got 30 years left, so say I'm going to live till I'm 87, I've got 30 years left, right? Well, 10 years, I'm just sleeping. Make sense? A third of my life, I'm sleeping. So that's only 20 years left. Now, what about work? How many hours a week you working? When you work out that, how many days are you going to take off working? Eating, doing all the things you don't necessarily value the time. How many days have I actually got left? When you do this exercise for real, you might actually find out there's a lot going on here. So there's the past. That person's young, by the way. They're only 40, right? Sleep, eat, family time, learning. Hopefully you got some time for learning. Exercise, things you can't control. There's nothing actually left out of that 100 days, right? So you can see your 100 years, right? If you're not careful, you'll be one of those sad people that woulda, shoulda, coulda. When you're 80 years old, you got your grandchildren around you and you're telling them all the stories of what you woulda, shoulda, coulda done in your life. I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd had a pension. I wish I'd opened a business. I wish I did this and the other. Or do you want to be the 8-year-old who's very content on your deathbed with your grandchildren, saying, I did all the things I wanted to do, or I gave it a go. Even if I didn't achieve it, I tried. And I was happy that I might have failed at a couple of things, but I gave it a go. I have no regrets. I'm contented in life. And my children are all looked after. They're all right. My grandchildren are good and I'm good to go. That's lovely, isn't it? You don't want to be there at your funeral and you're looking down at yourself from heaven or wherever you believe you are, with all the regrets and all the sadness and people backstabbing and fighting over your little assets and whatever. So the reason why it's called Kuta, by the way, is I won't say the last word. It's a kick up the something, right? Somebody shared this with us some time ago, that some people, this is a kick up the something when they realize that their life, you've already wasted a certain amount of time, now make it serious. And this really focuses you to realize I don't have 30 years left. I don't have 40 years left. I might only have a few years left where I really can control and enjoy the things I want to do, depending on where you are in your life cycle. But it's never too late. So don't think, oh, I'm messed up, Asari, I'm this age and that age. Anybody, I know we're not advocating any KFC here, but the guy Colonel Saunders, right? When did he get rich? Wasn't he in his 70s when he got rich? It's never too late, right? It's never too late. So let's keep going. So this is, I'll come back to some of this around times and all the rest of it. Right, next one. Don't do that dream chart. And if you're a single person, you can do your dream chart obviously on your own. But if you have children and you have a loved one, a partner, a husband, a wife, whatever, do the dream chart with them. Here's another clue in life. If they're not interested in doing it, what does that tell you about that relationship? Yeah. I don't want to see them kind of relationships where people come and tell me, I don't know what it is. I don't know what this relationship is. What kind of foolishness is that? I've been with this person for a couple of years. We haven't yet defined it. This is all nonsense. Is it you? How does that person introduce you? As a, oh, here's Michelle, or here's Paulette. I mean, they're not really introducing you with any status here. So maybe you're just wasting 2 years of your life. Move on, right? But seriously, engage who's around you. Now, how many people have been married and spent 2 years planning the wedding? How many days did they spend planning their life? So you spent 2 years planning your wedding and not a single day planning your life. Do you see how that's kind of ironic? 2 years planning one day, which is largely artificial and kind of just spending a load of money on loads of things that you don't probably need in life, right? Loads of people come around, you don't even recognize them. So you're just spending a load of money on one day, and you haven't discussed how many children you want, where do you want them to grow up, what home you want to live in, what life you want, what religion you're going to bring up your children by. You haven't discussed any of those things, but you organize your wedding down to the what balloons and what color of everything and what price and everything, but not the day after, you've got nothing organized. So just reflect on that. Number 3, cost it. Whatever you do, you need to cost it. Jim Rowan said everything has a price. It could be money, but it could also be time, and it could be commitment. Are you up for it? Does anybody watch that TV program? I can't remember what it's called, but sometimes I'm up late doing stuff and I see it on a Wednesday night, because Tuesday nights I prepare for my business meeting in the morning. So sometimes I'm just watching this program. It's about footballers who didn't make it. They kind of went professional, then it fell apart. So it's a second chance. There's a brother who runs it with these sisters who are coaches. He was a professional and now he's trying to help others. And they've kind of lost their way. But what's brilliant about the program is the ones who don't make it are not the ones who don't have the ability. The ones who don't make it, the ones who won't have the commitment. They've got a wrong attitude. Does that make sense? The one that sulks on the pitch, they miss the goal and they're sulking. When the team, they're not defending or they're not playing as a team, right? They're having a tantrum, or they just lose their composure. All of that stuff, which is in the head, is what they fail on. So cost it is not just about money. It's about, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to put in the time? How important are these things to you? Because if you're not willing to put the time in, there's no point saying, I want to be a millionaire. I want to have a 5-bedroom house. I want to have this lovely wife, blah, blah, blah. But you're not willing to put in the work to make that happen. And guess what? When you meet the dream woman in it for you, why would she want you? Because what work have you done to make sure you're ready for Miss Lovely? So you meet the woman of your dreams. This is what I tell my sons. If you meet the woman of your dreams in the next few years, what are you offering her? Have you got a good job? Have you got any money put aside? What if she says, let's go and move into a flat, and you ain't got a pot to whatever? You ain't got nothing to offer this relationship other than your good looks. That ain't a lot. And sisters, guess what? Even though you might not see yourself as the provider, just having a lovely smile is not really cutting it after the few weeks of marriage. The smile will run out and then you got the daily stuff, right? So what price are you willing to pay? Cost it. Really cost it. Here's number 4. Make smart goals. Have anybody seen the video by Denzel Washington? Try and find it on Google. Denzel Washington has a video where he says, dreams are just waste of time. Goals without action and discipline is a waste of time. Everybody has a dream, but you got to put it into action. Does that make sense? You got to get smart with it. And it needs to be written down. How many people do you meet say they've got goals and they've got dreams? It's all in their head. Is it real? Have you shared it with anybody? Have you written it down anywhere? Because how many people have goals that they achieve great goals and they've never written it down, never shared it with anyone? So it's really important you have goals. And what do we mean by smart? Specific, measurable, achievable. Now, the traditional says realistic. Now, in my opinion, If it's achievable, it's realistic. There's no point saying it's achievable, it's not realistic. It's the same thing. So I say resourced for the R. In other words, have you put any money towards it? What money are you going to put towards this? Or what time or emotional content are you going to put into it? Are you willing to do what it takes to do it? So resourced is really important. A lot of people have smart goals, but they haven't put what money you put in your pocket. Have you ever met anybody who says, I got a brilliant business? Look, sorry, I've got this brilliant business idea, right? I want you to put your money into my business idea. And you ask them, what money are you putting in? And they say, I haven't got any. Does anybody see the problem with that scenario where you've got a dream and you want somebody else to invest in it, but you ain't investing in it? And then they say, well, how many hours are you going to be working on this? Well, I've got a job at the moment, so I'm not sure how much time I can put into it. So you want me to invest in you where you haven't got time or money to do it, and no expertise in that area either. I think it's flawed, right? So unless you've got a fairy godmother, you're not likely to get that investment, unless it's just somebody that loves you like your mum, right? There's always your mum to rely on or your dad, but they're giving it through love. But they'll be crying when you blow their money down the chimney, right? So don't abuse the love. Make sure you have a plan. Make it long as well. Some people can't think long. Some people think a week is long. A day is long. You see, I think human beings shouldn't be like a cat. See, I think you're a cat or a dog. Like a cat or a dog, if you don't think longer than a day. See, a cat wakes up in the morning. All they think about is where I'm going to lie down, where I'm going to eat. That's it. They don't think about next week. You see, a horse or a sheep will eat all the grass in the field, and then when there's no grass, they'll die. The horse isn't thinking, well, if I eat all the grass in this field, where am I going to eat next week? They'll just keep eating, and if there's no grass, we die. Or unless a human helps them, it's all over, right? So human beings sometimes are like a dog or a horse. All you're thinking about is where you're going to make money for today or next week. But what about the year or 5 years' time? You say, oh, sorry, 5 years is a long time. Well, look back 5 years ago and think about, is it that long? Would it have been worth taking some time out 5 years ago and putting a plan in place? Would you be in a better place now than you were 5 years ago? You know, lockdown, when you say to people lockdown or BC, before COVID, I call it BC, right? People think that's a long time ago. What, before lockdown? What, in 2019? People think that's like, wow, that was so long ago when there was before the lockdown. But that was only 4 years ago. And you think if you had a plan in 2019, you'd be 4 years into that plan now. So don't think 5 years is a long time. If you're going to live till at least you're 80, hopefully longer, how much time you got left? So an investment of time is worth it now, right? So think as long as you can. If you've got children, it's easier, because if people who don't look for a long time, I say to them, how old's your children? 5 and 6. I say, right, what is your view when if your child's 18 and they say, Mum, Dad, I want to go uni, and you say to them, sorry, I can't afford it. Is that okay? Or sorry, I can't finance it because you want to go to this university in Liverpool or Birmingham or wherever. I haven't got the money to support you. So unfortunately, you can't go. Are you happy with that conversation? Or if your child is 25 and they say, Mum, can you help me? Dad, can you help me get a flat? Are you okay if you say, sorry, I can't help you? Most parents say, oh, no, I want to be able to have a deposit. I want my children to go uni if they want to go uni. I want them to have this, I want that. But if you don't put a plan in place now, why, when they're 25 or when they're 18, will you have that money? You can't have it by just because I just love them. You have to have a plan. And we'll come back to pensions and planning in a bit. My son, one of my sons is passed his test recently. The other one's got his car. And the money's just there to buy the car. Not me, not my money. It's money that was invested in him years and years ago. It's just sitting there. And generational wealth. We keep telling each other a lie that we don't have generational wealth. Well, I had generational wealth. My children have generational wealth. Their grandparents have given them money. I don't even need to give them, because their grandparents have already given them some money. It's sitting there waiting for them. And because we're old-fashioned Caribbean parents, we won't let them touch it, even though legally, don't tell them, legally they can touch it, but we ain't letting them touch none of it until they're ready. So when he's ready to get his car, he's done well, he passed his exams, he's ready to get his car, the money's waiting there for him to get his car. That's it. And his insurance for the first year. So you have to plan. That plan was put in place 19 years ago, not last week, 19 years ago. So putting aside £50 a week, sorry, £50 a month, 19 years ago, think how much that's worth now if you've invested that somewhere, right? He's got thousands, right? But £50 a month is not that much, but it's a hell of a lot if you started last year, right? You got to put thousands a month now. So small, long term. Now, here's a big question for you all. Work, business, or investment? You've got to choose now. Which way you're going to go? I'm a bit skeptical of what I call life coaches. You know why? I've seen so many life coaches from the United States. In my opinion, they've ruined people's lives. Not all of them, but some of them. Has anybody heard of Jamie Redknapp, the footballer?
Yes.
There's a guy called Jamie Redknapp, the footballer. His wife, I've forgotten her name, Louise. His wife, Louise, right? She went on she had a good life. She was a singer and made a lot of money. She gave up a lot of that for her children, and her husband played football. So they're very wealthy. And she gave up most of that to be a housewife. Now, in her 40s, she went on Strictly Come Dancing just a couple of years ago. And she got the admiration. She wore these sexy dresses. She was cheered at and got all the social media. She's lovely, this and that. She said, sod this. I don't want this life anymore. I don't want to be a housewife. I want to go back to the life I had. And my husband has held me back. So I'm divorcing him. Now, here's a thing, sisters, if you haven't learned this. When you divorce a brother, it don't take long before you see him up the road with somebody else, right? Brothers tend to be a bit cold. You divorce him, and you're thinking the next time I see him, he's going to look disheveled, and he's going to look a bit rough, and he's going to regret it. Well, not everybody's like that. Jamie Redknapp went and found a young woman, and he's gone and got married, had a child, and now Louise Redknapp, what did she say? I regretted it. She made a mistake. She was a bit too hasty, dumping her husband for this lovely life. And now she's single. And guess what? He's remarried and got a new family. So be careful what you wish for. The reason why I mention this is don't believe work is a bad thing. I don't advocate that work is a bad thing. Not everybody can own a business.
Right.
Right? So yes, if you're a slave to the job, you're abused and treated badly. I'm not talking about that. But what's wrong with having a decent job? Even if you're a bus driver, a cleaner, the dignity of our parents' generation had no problem doing a partner and getting their first house and giving us the life that we had. We were bus driver, one's a bus driver, one's working in a factory, but they had the dignity of getting up every day and going to work. There's a lot of people out there who have the attitude that because I haven't got the dream job, because I haven't got the perfect job, I don't want to work. But what else are you doing? Dreaming of a business that never happens. So there's nothing wrong with work if you can find a way to make it work for you and invest and do the things you want to do. Lots of people have good enough jobs, they can make it work. Now, one of the secrets to this is partners. One of the biggest weaknesses in our community is we're too often on our own. Yeah, this mantra, I don't need a man, I'm perfectly fine as I am. Well, I don't advocate that argument. I've got no problem with independence of women, of course. But loneliness and being on your own ain't a great formula. We are meant to be together and form families. Now, if you look at any successful community in this country, they have solid family structures. It is the foundation. Our parents had very low paid jobs, but did very well, mainly because they had two incomes and two people working together for long-term goals. They might not have had major goals, but two people working together over the long term to try and achieve things is much better off than one person saying, I'm a super person and I'm going to do it all on my own. The two incomes make a massive difference. And if you look at the Asian community or parts of the Jewish community, the extended family means you've got even more incomes. Some Asian families have 6, 7 adults in one house, all paying and contributing to the family. And then one goes off and gets a property, another one goes off and gets property. But when you've got 6, 7 adult incomes, it's a game changer, isn't it? Rather than the superwoman of one income doing it all on your own. It's much harder, right? So you have to make a decision what you're going to do. Now, don't tell me you're going to do an investment. Name somebody who's rich through investment. There's very few people. Most wealthy people, self-made wealthy people, did it through business. Most. Alan Sugar, you name any of them. Alan Sugar made his wealth in business and his super wealth through property and investment. But he did it after he was wealthy, after he made the cash from the business. He put the cash in. Grant Cardone, the billionaire, that TV program, you see the billionaire TV program. Grant Cardone made lots of money from sales and business, and he's invested in property. Yeah, there's not many, what's the guy from Hathaway? The guy that owns the investment company, what's his name? The multi-millionaire, billionaire guy, I've forgotten his name. But
Warren Buffett.
Buffett. There's not many Buffetts in the world. He's one of the unique people who has made millions and billions through just investing. Name another one. Most people can't name 2 because most people make money through business and then they invest it in other stuff. So to make money through investment alone, unless you're very skilled and really know what you're doing, be very careful. If you can do your crypto, you can do whatever, fine, but make sure you do it with somebody who can guide you and educate you so you do it safely, right? I know lots of people, I know people who've made good money from crypto, and I've known people who have been wiped out by it. So you need to make sure, you know, you do the right thing. Right, last few, we got 6, review your finances. Now, literally, get your, you know, your bank statement and go through it. A typical bank statement, go through all your direct debits, put them on a spreadsheet and write them all down. Yeah, this is something I did years ago. I teach my children to do it. They don't always do it, but I teach them to do it. Put it on a spreadsheet and put all your finances on the top. Everything you pay for, your mobile phone, contribution to your home, any direct debit you've got or standing order, put it all down because they're the simple ones, because they're the ones you pay every month. Then how much do you spend on petrol? How much do you spend on food and going out and clothes? You might have to estimate those ones because they're not direct debits. So just put a figure for that. And then see, when you add it up, is it more or less than what you earn? Because if it's more than what you earn, that's probably why you're broke all the time, because you're spending more than you're earning. Now, if you haven't got 10%, 20% left of your income every month, you probably need additional income or to cut something down. Yeah, Sky subscription, Netflix, everyone, put all of it down, everything, every single one of them, put them down, everything. Yeah, Prime, Amazon Prime, whatever, it doesn't matter if it's £10, £5, Spotify, put them all down, because there's some that you probably forget about. Put them all down and decide, do I need these? Is this important in my life? If you can afford it all, that's up to you. When I lost my job 12, 13 years ago, I got made redundant. I went through every single one. That WhatsApp, that WhatsApp subscription, gone. This subscription, gone. Sky, gone. Lots of things I didn't need. Now I'm not earning. Get rid of it. Didn't need it. And also I could get out of it because they weren't contracts. So I could just leave. Yeah. Don't give up your life insurance though. Don't give up that one. Or you know, your insurance for your home. Don't give those ones up, because you know you could have a sad situation and you haven't got that. So try not to give up your insurances, because if you redo them, they'll become more expensive. And if you need them, you need them. So put them on a spreadsheet. And then if you haven't got enough money, you now know what money you need roughly to pay your expenses, or you need to cut them down. You should be putting away 10% of your income at least in savings. Yeah, for a rainy day. You should have 2 savings accounts really. One for a rainy day, you know, the little money. And when I say little money, let's say £1,000 you could find easily and quickly. So if the tire of your car goes, something in your house happens, your washing machine goes or something happens, you've got a little bit of money on the side, you could do something really quickly to get it sorted. If you're comfortable with finances, get a credit card. If you're somebody who's responsible and you won't go crazy and go and buy a whole load of foolishness on your credit card, have a credit card available when your credit is strong, because they won't take it away from you, but they won't give you one when your credit is bad. So get a credit card when your credit's good and just keep it there. And when you go on holidays or maybe your petrol and that, put it on there to keep it going, keep your credit good. And at the end of the month, pay it off. But if you want to purchase like a holiday on the internet and you're not sure about the company, put it on a credit card. If they go bust or something goes wrong, because it's a credit card, you can get your money back. So a credit card is a good way of buying things that are a little bit expensive, but you're not sure about. Does that make sense? Because if anything goes wrong, the credit card company has to pay it back. So that's a good way. And it's emergency money straight away. If you've got a credit card with nothing on it, if something happens quickly, you can just buy the washing machine or get your car fixed or whatever. Now, personal experience, I got into early debt as a young man because I spent the money I earned and drove the car. And if anything happened, I got into problems because there was no money to repair that tire that went, or the car needs a service, or they say to me, oh, Mr. St. Hill, you need this, this, and this, and it's going to be about £600. And then you borrow and scrape and to pay for it because your car's off the road. Then you're in £600 debt. You can't pay, you pay it back the following month. Now you're even more debt and you just can't get back on your feet. And then have the secondary one, which is long-term savings. Try and save long-term money that you won't touch, that will help you put a deposit on a house or a car or the dream holiday or something that you don't touch. Try and put that aside as well. So you need about 20% of your income to be putting aside. Otherwise, it's very difficult, right? If you haven't got it, you either need to upgrade your job, find extra income, or cut something out. Yeah. Now, you remember what I said? Lots of people, by having a partner, can transform your life. Now, I'm not saying go and get a partner for money, but recognize that having a good person, a husband, a partner in your life can be transformational. You're paying £1,500 a month to rent a property right now. If somebody moves in with you who you love and respect, suddenly it's only £750 a month. What could you do with an extra £750 a month? A lot, right? So not necessarily doubling your income, but increasing your income. People don't think of it that way. How do I find an extra £1,000? Well, it's very difficult to find an extra £1,000 or £2,000, but with a good relationship, you could suddenly have another person contributing £2,000 to your home. All of a sudden you have one home with two incomes, everything becomes cheaper. And now you've got extra money that you can now save when before you were really struggling. This is why I say family and solid relationships are so important, because without it, it makes it so much more difficult to live in this society on one income, unless you're a very, very high income earner. Yeah. So you need a plan. All of this is all well and good, but if you don't put it in a plan, it kind of goes nowhere. It's all like, oh, that's very interesting, Asari. That all makes sense. Thank you very much. That was lovely. I really enjoyed it. And go back to my life tomorrow and everything's the same. You've got to write it down. You've got to put a plan together. And if you don't know how, get help. All of these things you can get help with. I can help you. There's loads of people I could introduce you to help you with all of these bits and pieces. Some for free, some you'll have to pay. You got to make a decision. Is it important enough? Or go on the internet. You can get stuff on the internet for nothing. Go and find out. Get a decent diary, a decent plan, and get it done. Now, I didn't do a slide on education because I focused on finance. But people are delusional about their knowledge. Because if I said to you, look, because I love you, I heard your mom's sick. And because I love you so much, I'm going to go on the internet and find out how to do the operation. And I'm going to come and do the operation on your mum. Would you feel that that is a really good offer, that because I'm going to come and do the operation on your mum because I've got so much love? Would you say, oh, thank you, Asari. That's what I've always dreamed for. You're going to say, Asari, I think you're crazy, because unless you've got a degree in surgery and you've been doing it for 10 years, I'd rather let the other surgeon do it. The point I'm saying is having a dream and a plan without educating yourself on what to do is probably flawed. There's no point saying I want to be a millionaire, I want to own a business and that, and you don't learn how to run a business. Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than on your job. What he meant by that is learn how to run the business, not just how to be a better technician. I said this before. One of my famous speeches at the Nation, at the mosque, was when I said, people are technicians. Yeah, that what happens is you think you'll make more money by being a better hairdresser. You think you'll make more money by being a better barber. You think you'll make more money by being a better plumber. Guess what? We don't care. Who goes to a plumber, right? Rings up a plumber tonight and says, I need you to do my bathroom. And they say, well, I've got a degree in plumbing, so I'm going to charge you extra £1,000. And you say, oh, that's fantastic. Because you got a degree, I'm going to pay you more. Nobody cares except your mum, right? It's your X Factor test, right? Nobody cares about how many years you spent being a plumber and you went on a course last week and you're the best plumber in Britain. If you make that price more expensive and you say the reason why it's more expensive using me is because I've got a degree and a PhD in plumbing, and I went on this course last week and blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about that. When you go to the dentist, do you look at the certificates on the wall and say, I don't think you're that educated, I'm going to the other dentist? Nobody does that. We don't know. We just assume you know what you're doing, right? We don't check you out and check your qualifications. We just think, well, if you're a solicitor, I go to the solicitor and he says he can do a blah, blah, blah. I employ the solicitor, right? Or you come with recommendation. I don't check your qualifications and pay a premium because you say you're more qualified than somebody else. You're wasting your time. The amount of business owners I tell this to, they won't listen to me. They'll go on another course and another course and another course. And they say, sorry, I'm not earning any more money. I said, guess what? Because your customers don't care. Provide a better business, find out how to do marketing, find out how to do sales, you will earn more. Guess what? Most business owners I speak to, their competition earns more than them because they're better at marketing, not because they're better at the job. So they say, yeah, but he's rubbish. Yeah, but he might be rubbish as far as you're concerned, but the customers think he's great because their marketing is better than yours. Where's your website? Where's your overalls? Where's your nice clean van? So all of these things make people pay a premium for something that they're not paying you because you can't be bothered to get a website. You can't be bothered to get nice overalls. You can't be bothered to get a nice envelope to put your quote in. Your van's not being washed for 3 weeks. This is all part of the perception. So you might be a good plumber, but I don't know that. I just see the van pull up outside and I think, oh my God, who is this guy? My mum was one of those classic Caribbean women. If you come to the house in them dirty overalls and you walk in the house to do a quote, all she's thinking is he going to sit on my chair with that dirty trousers? She ain't thinking, how good is he? She's thinking, is he going to sit down there? Is he going to come in the house with them dirty boots? Is he going to take his boots off? That's all they're thinking.
Right.
So get these things right. Educate yourself on how to do it. Last few, here's a 90-day planning sheet. I can give you one of these and help you how to fill out a 90-day planning sheet. I'm doing a session on the last Friday of the September, from 2 till 5 o'clock, business planning session, £197 plus VAT. Simple session for anybody who wants to put a plan together. Simple way of doing it. I'll help you do a 90-day plan in those 3 hours. I'll get you to sit down and do the plan. Here's another one. Protect yourself and your family. Get a will. We've got some excellent people in our community who can educate you on wills and probate. Some of them will be speaking to you in the next few weeks. I've suggested some of the good speakers around this. Wills and probate to protect your assets. Yeah. We got people who have significant assets. Most people, as long as you own a house, you have a significant asset that you need protecting and making sure. Many of us have blended families. We call them blended families, right? So if you don't want your ex-wife to get all your money and you haven't got a will and you haven't sorted it all out, your ex-wife might be taking your new wife to court to fight over the money, or the new children are arguing with the previous children. All of the confusion, right? We all know it. Yeah, Prince, Barry White, you name them. Look at the sister who died the other day. Was it Aretha Franklin? They found a will in the sofa. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? You're a multi-millionaire and you haven't got a solicitor with a will. Somebody found another will in the sofa, and as a result, they had a whole legal challenge around it. This is not organizing yourself. She wasn't 20 when she died. She was an older lady, so she had time to organize her affairs. When Michael Jackson died, chaos. When Prince died, chaos, because they're not organized. So we're not talking about those rich people. We're ordinary people like you. Don't allow chaos. Have you got a will? Have you got probate? Have you got a solicitor who can help you through it, or somebody who's an expert? Have you got life insurance? You know, a sister said to me, and I've recommended her as well. A sister said to me, life insurance is the gateway for poor people to leave assets for their children.
Yeah.
And I thought that was brilliant. I never thought of it that way. So you could insure your family or insure each other for £100,000, £200,000. And if any of you pass away, you immediately give £200,000 to your loved one. You might not have a house, but your insurance could make your family very wealthy or have a significant sum of money very quickly. How many of us work in the public sector? Loads of our people work in the public sector, right? Guess what? Check out the pension scheme in the public sector. You can tell them who you want to have your pension if you pass away. A lot of people don't know that. You can tell them, I want this person to get my pension and my 2 children to share the pension if I pass away, and they'll get your pension. So I sign it. So protect your family. Have you got, if you're, say there was an Uber driver, this sister insured an Uber driver. He had an accident. Oh, he was a biker, sorry. He was a biker. He had an accident, broke a lot of bones, couldn't work, 0-hour contract, no salary, totally wiped out. He had accident protection from this sister. They gave him thousands of pounds. He had £4,000 for every bone he broke. He broke about 6-7 bones, 4 grand each one. They gave him accident insurance. They gave him the hospital treatment, everything. His family were happy. He said it was the best thing he ever did is to pay for this insurance, like £50 a month. And it saved his life, really, didn't it? Right? So get these insurances sorted out. Income protection, there's so many different ones you can get them. Now, here's a sore subject. So many in our community say, I ain't getting no pension because the government ain't going to give me a pension. They're going to steal my pension. Listen to me. Every middle-aged white man out there who is a middle-class person in a job has a wonderful pension. It is the most tax-efficient way of investing in this country. Trust me. If you, for every £100 you put in a pension, the government gives you 20. Name me another investment that will give you 20% of your investment with no strings, you don't have to be an expert, nothing. They'll give you, and guess what? If you're a higher taxpayer, they'll give you 40%. 40%. And guess what? Your employer has to give it as well. So you give, say, 6% of your salary, the employer gives 6% of your salary, the government is giving you a tax concession, and you're telling me you're not going to have a pension. You're crazy. It's the most tax efficient thing to do, have a pension. And if you have a private pension, get the advice, it's still very tax efficient. Somebody told me a long time ago, do not give your pension over to a private pension. I got a public sector pension. I'm a pensioner. I'm a pensioner. I took my pension early. I get pension every month. And guess what? You know, everybody's moaning about inflation. I love inflation. My pension went up 10.8% in April. Guess what? Next April, it's going up again. The British government have to pay my pension. If I live to 100, they got to pay my pension for 43 more years. And every year is index linked. So if there's inflation of 10% for the next 43 years, they got to put my pension up by 10% for the next 43 years. Can you work out how much that is? I'll be on thousands. Yeah, I get that forever. They have to pay it to me. So when people say they don't believe in a pension, they're mad. My son is going to be 24 in a few weeks' time. And I've told him when I was 19, I started my pension. So by the time I was 24, I had 5 years in pension already. He still hasn't started it. Keep telling him, you think you're young now, but in years to come, you'll thank me. I thank my father every day, every month when that pension comes into my account. I remember my dad telling me, join the pension scheme when I was 19. The best decision, one of the best decisions I ever made. So look into it. Don't take my word for it. Look into it. It's a great way to invest money. And it goes to your loved ones. If you do it properly, you can give it to your loved ones. Or if you pass away, if you're in work, most workplaces, if you're in a pension scheme, if you pass away, your loved one gets a lump sum and they get a pension. So that's another great thing as well. So your employer is already doing it. They're contributing to it. Look into it. Please look into it. Last one. All what I've said, review it every year. Now, I have a birthday on the 23rd of December. My wife's birthday is on the 13th of January. So it's a great time for us to do a review. So every year, when we have a little bit of time off around that so-called Christmas time, we sit down and do a dream chart. Every single year we do it. What do we want for the following year? What do we want in our lives? What do we want to do, etc. And I have a coach that told me I need to do a life dream chart. I haven't done one for my life. I've just done one each year. But it's a good one to do maybe for a long-term one as well. But I do it every year and review. So that's basically it. Dream big. If you want to book a review, I'm happy to have a conversation. You can go on my website and just do it. A brother did it yesterday. He just went on the website. He said, could I have a complimentary coaching session? You just book it on there and I book you in a time. It's straightforward. What more do you want? And it's free. It's like, it's free to have a review, you know, and you know how many in our community say they want stuff? I launched a Black Business Club in December, right? A Black Business Club in December. I don't see anything like it around the place, right? Black Business Club. And you know what the price is to join? £10 a month plus VAT. £10, £12 a month to join the business club. And we have the website, we've got everything set up. I had a vision in December and I decided to go for it. And I want to build it so it has 100 members by the end of the year. And I want to get to 1,000 by the end of 5 years. So that's my vision. We got 35 members now, I think. But why isn't everybody joining? People umming and ahhing. I said, what? How much are you paying for Sky? £100 a month. The Black Business Club's £12 a month. And you're umming and ahhing about joining? How much did you pay to go out to dance last weekend? So think about it.
Thank you, Asari.
That's me done.
Thank you, Asari. So let me just ask you a quick question, brother. And thank you so much for the presentation. Very comprehensive, as always. Nothing has changed where you are concerned. Now, why are these simple things that you have mentioned, and the last one you mentioned was the club. Why does it seem so difficult for us to implement things that seem so simple to articulate, right? Like you mentioned things like pensions, you mentioned just saving regularly.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of things that just sound so simple. Why is it difficult for us to implement?
Because there's something called, one of the things we teach in sales, when I teach people sales, I say it's emotion. Human beings are predominantly emotional.
Yeah.
So there's two dimensions we need before we act. Urgency and importance. So when I teach people sales, if these two factors are not there, all the logic in the world doesn't work. I'll give you a simple example. Say you're overweight and you found a personal trainer and they ask you all the questions in sales. You know, they do perfect sales. Asari, why did you come to see me today? Because I'm a bit overweight and I want to lose a bit of weight. Brilliant. Excellent. Okay. So you know my prices? Yes. You can afford my prices? Yes. You sure you want to lose weight? Yes. You're willing to join a gym? Yes. So when should we get started? I mean, this could take half an hour. I'm shortening it for simplicity. And I go, it's going to be the end of the summer soon. Let's do it in this. Let's do it in the end of the winter. Or sorry, let's do it at the end of the year because it's going to be a bit cold and dark soon. So I don't really want to go out jogging and all the rest of it. So ring me in January or do it next. What they don't normally say that, first of all, they normally say ring me next month. I don't want to do it now. Do it next month. The point is logic, and then illogical answer. Why? Because it's not urgent and important to me. What you didn't ask me is the emotional questions. So this is what I teach in sales. What's the emotional? The emotional questions is, why do you want to lose weight? Forget the logic. You think it's logical. Because you asked me if I want to lose weight and I said yes, you thought that's logical. But you didn't ask me what's the emotional reason I want to lose weight. So you haven't given me what is my reason? Now I don't really have a reason. And because I don't really have a reason, it's not urgent and it's not that important. I'm quite happy to be a little bit overweight. So therefore, when you tried to close me and to close the deal, I said, oh, I'll do it next month. And then when you ring me next month, guess what I say? Let's do it the month after. So the reason why people don't do things is the lack of urgency. Now, my brother, what happens when somebody's told by the doctor that if you don't lose weight, we can't do the operation and your life's in danger. You meet that person in 2 months' time and they're doing marathons, they're doing the Ironman and all kind of thing. They're running for charity and all kind of, before they didn't even have a pair of trainers. Now they're telling you I'm doing a triathlon because urgency and importance has come into their life. The doctor said, if you don't have the operation, you're going to die. But we can't have
why
the
are
operation.
we like that then? Like, what is it? What is
it's part
it?
of human, it's part of the human condition. It's part of the way we're grown. There's not many people who will just take action from coming to something like this, or because we're predominantly emotional. We are
What
emotional
kind of
beings.
training then can we engage in on a daily basis to break out of that mold, that malaise, where we're actually inflicting so much damage on ourselves because we're more emotionally driven as opposed to scientifically driven? Okay?
Excellent question.
So how would you approach that, dear brother?
I would say a couple of things. We need to work on our mind. So affirmations or meditation or something else spiritual in terms of deals with the mindset. So some people pray, some people will read their Bible or they'll read their Quran. They'll find inspiration from other sources, things that are bigger than them. So some people will meditate in the morning. You need something that will influence your mindset at the start of every day. So you're motivated. And the dream chart is one of them. Because the reason why my dream chart is a picture and it's on the wall is because I can see it every day.
Yeah.
So if I'm motivated by that image, it encourages me, it reminds me why I'm getting up every morning. See, it's easy when the sun's shining, but when it gets dark in November and it's cold in the mornings, it's not so motivating to get up. But if you have the dream chart or the affirmations or your Bible or your Quran or your bit of meditation, it can get you in the right mindset. Some people need music. Some people might listen to a speech by somebody that motivates. Look at that honorable minister. How many people have been inspired to take action after listening to a speech that moved them?
Right.
So that's what people need in their lives. Put those things in your life. If you need to listen to the honorable minister, get all these different videos and speeches, and every morning listen to one. And after you listen to it, you're fired up. Whilst you're brushing your teeth and you're getting ready, put the video on, put the audio on. By the time you're ready for work, you're fired up because he's fired you up in the morning, inspired you, ready to rock. Whatever works, but have something that gets you in the right mindset every morning so you're your best self. Right.
So the moment our minds say to us, I don't want to do it, is my trainer taught me about 30 years ago that when your mind says, I'm tired, okay, go to bed. Or he said, whenever the mind manifests or expresses weakness, that's the time to punish it by doing what it's advising you not to do.
Absolutely.
So with your coaching, how much would you say the average person, say in our community, who seems to be somewhat struggling and is in need of guidance, how much work would your work be? If somebody said to Asari, I want to make some money, I'm fed up of my life, I want to make some money, I want you to help to structure my life so that I can make some money. I'm not lazy, I'm talented. Okay, but I just can't get it together. How much of your work would you say is actually on the person's mind and bad habits versus restructuring their finances?
That's a good point. A lot more than they probably even realize. Particularly if you're a brother. Men find it quite difficult. If you start getting into the mind, they start thinking you're playing with them and all this. They're not so open to it. So you have to do it a little bit more subtly. Sisters, women generally are happier to talk about how they feel and their emotions. Men tend to think, oh, you're getting into all fluffy stuff, Asari. I don't want to get in all that. You're getting in my head. So you do it subtly, like a book that gives them a slightly different mindset. It's like the honorable minister. You give somebody who's unconscious, here's a little audio from the honorable minister talking about a subject that maybe not too heavy, but is a nice inspirational speech. Go away and just have a listen to it. And it just touches them. But you're working on their mind, but you haven't told them that. You're working to try and give them a different mindset that will change what they behave. Malcolm X is one of the best examples of this.
Yeah.
Went into prison, a bit of a loser, a bum, with his head all conked and all over the place, selling women, doing all kind of crazy stuff. He goes into prison, which is a beam around the side of the head, by the way, because it's a major event that has changed something. So now he's incarcerated, and he meets a spiritual brother who says to him, did you know that? And now he's got loads of time on his hands who can learn and teach him stuff. So he's teaching him, tell him to read, and when he comes out, he's transformed. He's a totally different person, because the mind is the biggest factor. Once the mind's changed, everything was easy after that, because all he wanted to do is serve. Right? So we do work on the mind, but I don't necessarily tell you too obviously, but we give you tools to work on your headspace.
I would say, though, Asari, in addition to what you've just said, as a person who's traveled a little bit, just like you, England is a very hard place to focus your mind on any one given goal that you may set. Because some people, but in my experience, England is a very difficult place to stay focused. So what would you say in regards to the impact of environment? Because no matter what you want to achieve economically, how important is the environment, i.e. your home life, i.e. your social life, in the country that you are in? What type of impacts will these things have on your goals, your aspirations, if you don't get them right?
It's absolutely massive potentially. Now, there's something called the identity iceberg. You can look it up on the internet, the identity iceberg. The idea is that most of your identity is hidden, that most of your identity is below the waterline. You only see a little bit of the iceberg, but most of it is under the water. Most people's identity is the same. So your beliefs, your values, your identity is below the waterline. Now, the easiest thing to change is the environment, because it's the one thing you have control of. You can't necessarily control everything else. All right, you can control a bit of skills, but you can't really just change your identity. I know you can have transgender and you can do all kinds of things, but you can't really change your identity that easily, right? You can't really change yourself that easily, but you can control your skills and your environment. The environment is the first one. And what I mean by environment, I don't mean go and buy a 5-bedroom house, because you might not have the money.
Right.
But it's think about who you surround yourself with. Lots of people say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you spend most of your time hanging out with some friends from school who are all a waste of space, but they're very lovely to you because you've known them for 30 years and you love hanging out with them and go for a drink in the pub and all the rest of it, but you just know it's a waste of time. You're not doing anything useful. You just meet up every night and have a chit chat and just go to the pub. You need to change your environment, because you can change that easily. So here's some tools. The number one environment in most people's lives, believe it or not, is not actually what you think it is. It's that piece, it's that thing called a
phone.
This is the environment that captures most people in the modern world. It's included in the UK. How many people who've been listening tonight have resisted looking at their phone since we started? It's a massive draw. Now, you can choose what to put on your phone. Now, I turn all my alerts off. The only one that alerts on my phone is a text message. Not a WhatsApp message, a text message. Because the only time I get a text message usually is somebody who needs to get me now or wants to give me a message right now. So I'll accept that. My wife or somebody like that might text me, right? But any WhatsApp, now turned off. Emails, off. Everything's off. Why? Because it's distraction. Every time it goes zzz, I was coaching a brother today, and in the background I could hear all these different noises. And it's his phone pinging on all the different things that are coming through to him. Emails, WhatsApp, Facebook, this, that, and the other. It's a distraction because I can hear it pinging all the time. He needs to turn it off because you can hear it all the time. So turn them off. Now, your phone is a fantastic device, but it can be a destructive device. So you can choose what YouTube videos to watch. what things to Google, what social media to use. And you can choose not to listen to an idiot, and you can choose to listen to somebody sensible. So a big part of it is the environment, I would say. Create an environment, hang out with people who are more useful. And I'm not saying you change your life overnight. Most people can't just divorce all your friends, divorce everybody. I'm not saying that. That's not practical unless you're, dramatic. Yeah. Not everybody's a Malcolm X. So, but you can spend 1 day a week networking in a positive environment. You could spend 1 day a week at the gym. You could spend 1 day a week at the library. And when I say a day, I only mean, an hour or something.
Yeah.
So you could choose to do these things if you want to. And that's a change of environment. Go in the library and sit down and go and read for an hour. So there's loads of examples of how you can change your environment.
Right.
No
So with
excuse.
the friends you mentioned, isn't it better then? Because somebody may be an acquaintance, right? So categorizing the people who you know and assorting them, putting them in categories. How important is that? Because sometimes we can call somebody a friend and they're a mere acquaintance.
Absolutely.
And similarly, you might have had relevance to me when we were 5. And I meet people all the time, Asari, and it's so embarrassing for me because I used to go to school with them. They recognize me, and I have not got a clue who I'm speaking to. I mean, it's so embarrassing. I don't even have a smidgen.
I'm like that as well.
It's not even there.
Who is that person?
So I can't call somebody who I haven't seen for 40 years a friend, because if they were that in my infancy, they certainly haven't done nothing for me lately. So they don't fall into that category anymore. Their friendship has expired. You understand? It's expired.
Absolutely, long time ago.
Be renewed because it's a very high category. So I want to visit that with you real quick in regards to the categorization of the people who we know and how important that is. And additionally, talk to me about your plans in Rwanda and what is so important about the environment of Rwanda versus
Absolutely.
the United Kingdom.
Yeah, no, brilliant. There's a speech by Tyler Perry. He's one of the people I admire. Tyler Perry used to sleep in a car. He was badly beaten up by his father, had lots of issues and stuff. And this man is now a billionaire.
Yeah.
He now owns the biggest film site in America, as far as I know. He got so big, Black Panther was done there. Even the prince, who was disowned by his family,
right?
He gave a house. He said, come and stay in a house. And the prince and Meghan literally went and stayed with him.
Yeah.
Now, in his speech, Tyler Perry said, some people only meant to be in your life for a season.
Right.
And I thought that was a lovely speech, the way he did it. He said, some people only supposed to be in your life for a season. You think they're there forever, but they're only there for a season. And maybe they're just there for the summer, or they're just there for the winter, or they were there when you were young, or whatever. It's time, let them go. Yeah, let them go. Now, sometimes you meet somebody you haven't spoken to for maybe a long time, but that person actually could be valuable in your life. Find out who they are. That person, you might find out this person is an expert on crypto, or they're a property investor, or they've really done something useful in their lives. They've joined the Nation of Islam, or whatever they've done that is really useful. You haven't seen them for years, and you think, actually, this is somebody maybe I should have been hanging out with them. Maybe I would have done better if I spent more time with them, but I haven't seen them for a while. I'll spend more time with this person. So you might meet people that you knew, but find out a bit about what they're doing. If the person says surviving, they're probably the cat and the dog I was telling you about. Right? When people say they're surviving, that just means you ain't doing nothing.
Right.
People who are on a mission never say they're surviving.
Right.
Because that's what a dog will tell you. If you ask the dog what you're doing, they'll say, I'm surviving. That's all they're doing. There's no plan. What are you doing tomorrow? Eat, sleep, get up. So people who say they're just surviving, that's no good. You want somebody to say, I got married, I got this, I'm doing this. They don't have to be super successful, but they're just positive energy and somebody who will encourage you. When you tell them about your dream, I'm going Rwanda in 2 weeks' time, and they go, oh, that's fantastic. that might be somebody you could spend more time with. But if I say I'm going to Rwanda and they say, what are you going there for? Then maybe you're around the wrong person. You just say, oh, that was nice to meet you. See you around. Bye. Don't exchange numbers, because you're wasting their time. So that's Tyler Perry saying people could be in your life for a season. Now, the reason why I'm going to Rwanda is multiple. One, I went there in 2019. I've been studying them for years. I've been studying Africa for over 30 years. Rwanda shines out as an incredible example of human endurance. In 1994, Rwanda had a genocide. By the way, this is the same year Mandela came to power in South Africa. So we got a comparison if you wanted to make one. South Africa is a basket case of massive corruption, and the lights are out, and they can't even keep the country lit. It's the wealthiest country in Africa, most developed, and they can't keep the lights on. It's embarrassing. It's one of the most violent, most dangerous places in the world for women to live. Really got problems, right? Rwanda, much, much poorer with virtually no resources, because we all know why South Africa was South Africa, because the white people wanted the gold and the diamonds and all the resources. Rwanda was abandoned because they didn't have any resources that they cared about, and they definitely don't care about us. So when the genocide happened in 94, there was no Western country saying, we got to secure the oil or secure the diamonds or the gold. They just didn't care. Well, they're black people killing each other, just let them get on with it. So they literally, the country was taken over by all kind of confusion, and the RDF, led by Paul Kagame, came from Uganda, who was a refugee. He liberated the country for an army and took over the country and stopped the genocide. They wanted him to be president. He said, no, I haven't trained for this. I don't know what it is to be a president. I don't want to be the president. So they made him the vice president, head of the military, and the other president, whoever it was, took over. By 2000, the government said, this president's useless. They sacked him. They basically said, you got to go. He's useless. So they got Kagame. They said, look, you can't say no this time. We need you. And he was the vice president for 6 years, so he knew a little bit by then. So he said, okay. They have transformed the country to be #1 in so many different areas. The safest place in Africa to travel, the safest place for women. I think they're the #1 for women in Africa as well. The cleanest country in Africa, so many different things. And my sons have never experienced an African country or a Caribbean country as adults, because they're only 19 and 24. So this is the first time they're going to travel to a country where people look like them as adults. And I think this is one of the best experiences they can have, because it's excellent. I'm not taking them somewhere and apologizing for corruption, apologizing because the road broke up, apologizing because this pothole and this problem and that problem and that building broke up. I can say to them, this is the standard that we could achieve if we put our minds to it. And that's what I want to show them, that kind of excellence. I've already bought the tickets for the basketball game. They've got a brand new arena, 10,000 BK arena. They relaunched the African Basketball League there. I thought, I've got to go and see this place. I want my children to go to an arena. It's better than Wembley Arena.
Right.
They've got a brand new arena. We got tickets for the right at the front. We're right at the right by the players. And we're gonna.
You're on the floor.
We're on the floor, right by the player. We might be sitting next to the president. We hear. But the point is to see that level of excellence that I want them to see. That we're going to go on a Rwandan plane, so they'll see the quality plane with the videos and the screens and the food. Everything's nice and properly done. We're not going to go British Airways or something where they don't see it. We're staying in a home owned by a Rwandan, 3-bedroom place, 3 bathrooms. They all get their own bedroom and bathroom. They can see it's a nice Airbnb, you know, so they get to see that quality and excellence and be able to walk out at night without me worrying that something's going to happen to them, and they can enjoy the experience. And I want to start a business. I want to register a business there and put an account, so that's in place. And there's a few things we need to look at, you know, housing and healthcare and different bits and pieces, and rekindle some relationships that we need to reestablish. So there's just so many reasons. I think any of our community, it's worth a visit, even just for a holiday, just so you can see somewhere that is very, very special. And if you're a sister, you'll be very impressed with the role sisters play in that country and the positions that they hold. And Guess who has the highest number of women in parliament in the world?
Wow.
Rwanda.
Wow.
No one's higher. So there's so many things they can be proud of there that I think we should experience.
Very
And
good.
if you listen to the president's speeches about the West, you got no doubt where his position is about people dictating to him what should happen and what shouldn't happen.
Very good. I'm going to let Sister Tara and Sister Sylvina ask you one question after I ask you this last one. As a Pan-Africanist, can you envisage yourself living on the African continent within the next 5 to 10 years?
That's the plan. It's part of the plan of the dream chart to live in Rwanda in the next within the next 5 years. We want to look to buy property there and settle. So that's part of the mission when we go in the next week to look into that in much more detail. Citizenship and all those, all the little details that sometimes you miss out on if you don't ask and understand what the situation is. So definitely, yeah, that's the plan.
Very good. Love it.
And with a little secret mission to get my sons to love it so much that they say, we want to come as well.
Yeah. Well, within a week of coming back to the UK, I believe they will say that. Once they have that comparison, I believe they will say that. Sisters.
Okay, I have one question. You mentioned SMART goals. So how many goals do you think someone should have? I would say the maximum, because I think sometimes if you have too many, you probably won't do anything. So how many goals should someone set when it comes to, trying to reboot their finances or get their personal finances in order?
That's a great question, because I don't generally say 3 to 5.
Okay.
And the reason why I said it, you can have as many goals as you like. But as you said, if you set 100 goals, what is the chances of you achieving those 100 in the short term? Maybe in a lifetime, but in the short term, it's very difficult for most people to focus on 100. Anybody read out a credit card or your Visa card? Why do they separate the numbers? They put 4 numbers, 4 numbers, 4 numbers, 4 numbers. The reason why is when you look up and look back, you can't work out where you were. So if they put all the numbers, does anybody give you a phone number and it's all in one line?
Right.
When you dial it, you misdial sometimes because when you look up and you look back, you can't work out where you were. You're getting confused. So the reason why we leave a gap is because the human brain can't focus easily on too many things at the same time. It gets confusing. So the credit card companies leave a gap because people will keep typing in the wrong numbers all the time. So they leave a gap because when you look back, you do 4, then another 4. So goals is the same. If you can focus on a few goals at a time, it's better. And one of the things about writing down your goals is what it does to your mind. And if you share it with somebody, has anybody got pregnant and they go, wow, there's so many women pregnant at the moment? Or your wife is expecting a baby and you go, God, we meet so many people having a baby at the moment. Everybody's having babies. The reason why is because your consciousness has been raised about it. So you think about, when I decided to get the car I was going to get, my wife kept seeing that car everywhere.
Right.
She says, I keep seeing the car because now we spoke about it and she's seen it. She says, I can see this car a few more times than I used to. Consciousness. So setting a goal helps you to have a focus. So if you set 100, you're probably not focusing on any of them very well. So focus on a few and then you can be more focused. It's too difficult. When you've developed yourself and you're really, good at it, you can have more. But generally, even one good goal could be just a strategy, like I will just get up 1 hour earlier and I will start my day more constructively and I'll write down what I'm going to do. You might think that's really too simple, but you'd be amazed how much difference that will make to most people's life. Just get up 1 hour early, even half an hour earlier than you get up at the moment, and just spend a little bit of time thinking about what you want to do today. It's going to make your life a little bit better. That on its own will just improve your life. Just half an hour. Don't have to be big goals.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, we look forward, brother, to you coming back on the show after you've returned from Rwanda. We want to get your take on the economy and the topography and the whole 9 yards. What your views are, because as a seasoned Pan-Africanist, I think your view is more valuable than most. So we look forward to hearing from you in the next.
Definitely will do that. No problem.
And those of you who have been on our platform this evening and enjoyed Asari St. Hill to the degree that I have. That's why I don't want to start getting into too many questions with you, brother, because this is a session that could go until midnight, and I want to respect everybody else's time because this is an easy conversation. So I hope, brother Asari, that you've enjoyed us as much as we have enjoyed you.
I certainly did.
As always. And I'm going to ask those in the listening audience to take their devices off mute for a short period of time and show their appreciation and gratitude for what you have shared with us this evening. So spiritual injection, please show your gratitude to our special guest, brother Asari St. Hill. Thank you, brother.
Thank you,
very much.
Asari.
Thank you, brother.
Brother.
Thank you so much, brother. Pleasure.
Thank you,
Appreciate.
brother. Thank you,
Thank
brother
you.
Abdul Hakim.
Excellent. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
My
Thank
pleasure.
Yeah, that's what you call a deep dive.
Thank you.
You know, so those of you who are listening, remember, you have to do yourself a favor and access the recording so that you can go over what you have heard and sit down and discuss it and share it with your family members and friends, not the school friends, real friends, some current friends who have earned the right to that title. And then go on to brother's website, and brother has some events coming up. Try and support them. We need as many of you as possible to get regular coaching and be a part of the team that he mentioned, be a part of the first 100 who are signed up and, you know, receiving tips and guidance. It's a great blessing. You'll be so surprised, you know, how much just a notification from brother with some words of guidance will do for your life. So very important. As brother said, you know, 12 pounds a month, what is that? You know, break that down over 30 to 31 days. It's fractional. You know, you have your grandchildren. Like when my grandchildren come into my office, if I offered them 12 pounds, they would look at me crazy. Like, granddad, you know, what's going on? So whenever they come in my office, I give them a minimum of a 20 pounds because I want them to see their grandfather as generous man. Do you understand? Oh, you know, so at my funeral, they'll all come up and say he was the kindest man that I ever met in my life. I've rehearsed what they're going to say, you know what I mean? Because they're going to have to say that because there's nothing too large to make them feel good, you know, and loved. So all of that to say, brother Asari, thank you for sharing with us, and we look forward to hearing from you when you return from Rwanda. Are there any closing remarks, brother Asari, that you would like to leave with the audience today?
Only to say 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So you don't have to go for the big, you know, what color of helicopter you want. You don't need to go for the massive things. Just, as I said, if you just tomorrow morning and every morning from now onwards, just spent 20 minutes just thinking about your day, writing down a few things of what could I do today to make my life a little bit better than it was yesterday. And just think about that every day. What did I do yesterday? And what can I do better today? Just that little thing would help you to develop goals and plans and ideas, because you're giving yourself dedicated time. So that, to me, is the simplest thing. Start simple. Don't have to go for some fantastic, massive plan. Just start with the 20 minutes a day.
You said write it down somewhere prominent.
Write it down, yeah. Because people say they plan, but it's in your head. That's not really a plan, really, a good plan. The best plans are written down. And also, people don't recognize the psychology of recording. A lot of people see me writing a lot when I listen to presentations. But the reason why I write is because, do you know what it takes for you to summarize what somebody just said? You have to have understood what you just heard to be able to write a note. Otherwise, what are you writing? You can't write verbatim because you'd be writing 200 pages, right? So to summarize what you just heard, you have to consciously think about what that meant. So the action of writing notes is really important. So it helps you to remember. So that's why I say write things down. It changes. Like people journal. A lot of people are good at journaling. They just write down their thoughts on a daily basis. It helps give you clarity. And if you get stuck, change the color. You think I'm crazy, but
Of
if you
your
get
ink.
stuck, change the color. Change the color of the pen if you get stuck. You'd be amazed how color enhances your notes writing as well.
Very good. I'm very blessed to have you here this evening. Great advice, great guidance, great techniques. Asari St. Hill. Thank you very much, brother.
Pleasure. Thank you every time.